Hi, and welcome to the introduction video for the third generation Crowbox. This type of video isn't something we made for the second generation Crowbox, and in hindsight I think we kind of felt like that was a mistake to not just kind of demonstrate what the machine does, what the major parts are, things like that. So we're going to make up for that now, and we're going to go through the third generation design in some amount of detail here. If you're just curious about what this machine is and what it does, this is a good video for you. If you think you might be interested in building one of these, then this video is definitely for you because in addition to being able to see just what the machine is and how it works, we're also going to get down inside of it and look at the different parts inside and also go over some of the names that we've given to various parts of the machine that we're going to refer to a whole bunch of times over the course of the build videos. So I think this video here will be a really good orientation for anyone, especially folks who want to build a Crowbox of their own. Now before we pop the lid off here and get down inside the machine and take a look at the guts, one of the first things I want to do is just show two of the major functions of the Crowbox that are, I think, kind of easy to understand once you see them in action. And then after that, we'll start taking it apart and talking about the design improvements that we've made and just kind of showing how everything works. So right now, I have this particular Crowbox set for the training phase where this lid here, which is covering our peanuts, our rewards, is currently closed, so there's no access to the food. But what will happen is if a crow or any other kind of corvid or bird lands on the perch, the sliding lid will open, and we call this part the sliding lid, and you'll see why. It's because its job is to slide into the machine, retract, so that crows can get to our peanuts here, and then a little bit later it will close, and that will close off access to the peanuts until the machine gets cycled again. So I'm about to press the perch down here and pretend that I'm a crow landing on it. And when I do that, what we're going to see again is that lid's going to swipe open. It's going to stay open for 15 seconds, and that's the feeding period. So that's the time where crows will be able to reach in here to the basket. We call this whole front of the machine the basket. Those crows will be able to reach into the basket and get some peanuts. After that 15-second delay, the lid's going to scoot closed a tiny bit at a time, and that's just a safety feature so that if a bird happens to be poking around down inside the basket when it's time for the lid to close, time for the sliding lid to close, I should say, then they'll get bumped by a slowly advancing lid rather than being hit by a lid that's closing, sliding closed very quickly. So here we go. I'm going to pretend I'm a bird. I'm going to land on the perch here, and there. Sliding lid's retracted. Now I can get inside here, get myself some peanuts, assuming that I'm a crow, of course. And so that feeding period is going to last for 15 seconds, and then we'll see this lid scoot closed a tiny bit at a time. And then when you hear the servo click off like that at the very end, we're back to having access to the rewards restricted. And we've got some little tabs here that the lid slides under so that industrious corvids can't figure out how to just lift up the lid and get back inside without playing by our rules, which is landing on the perch. So I'm going to reconfigure the machine now for a later phase of training where the crows have to actually put in a coin, which we provide in order to open the lid and get themselves some peanuts. So I'm going to make that change now and come back to the video. So now I've moved this machine to a more advanced part of our training protocol, a more advanced phase of training, I should say. And now, merely landing on the perch no longer gives access to the food. What we have here is a coin that has been dispensed by the machine itself using a supply of coins it's stored inside that needs to be deposited in one of these two coin slots on either side of the basket in order to open this sliding lid. So what will happen, what we've seen is the crows who come to visit and are used to stepping on the perch and getting free food are going to wonder why the lid isn't opening for them. The sliding lid isn't opening and providing that access. they're also going to wonder why this coin is between them and their treats. And that usually results in crows trying to move this coin away. And once it gets deposited like that, you can see we have access to peanuts again. So again, a 15-second feeding period here. Now what we're going to see is the same gradual closing of the sliding lid that we saw in the previous training phase. But this time the machine is going to dispense another coin to replace the one that was just used. And there we go. Now the machine has reset itself. The sliding lid is closed. There's no food. Stepping on the perch does nothing, but we've supplied another coin. It does not take very long for the crows and other corvids to realize the importance of the coin in the whole system of getting free rewards, or getting rewards rather, in this training phase. So you'll see them start to very intentionally deposit those coins to get access to the food. And so those are the two major training phases, I think, of the machine. The next training phase operates exactly like this one, where a coin must be deposited in order to get access to the food. The difference being we are no longer providing free coins from inside the machine for that purpose. And so it's at that point that the corvids realize they need to be finding a different source of coins in order to bring them to the machine and trade them for access to our rewards. And so now that we've gone through a couple of those main functions of the machine and given you a little idea how it works and what it does, I'm going to disconnect from power. In this case, I'm running my Crowbox off of a USB power bank. So I'm going to disconnect this one from power so I can open it and get inside, which is something you should always do, disconnect these from power before you go fiddling around inside. Before I pop this open and get inside and look at the guts, I'm going to go around and talk about some of the major features of this version and how those features are an improvement over the second generation or the previous generation Crowbox. So that should be really interesting. I think if you were familiar with the previous generation of Crowbox, maybe you built one. And even if not, I think this little tour of the Crowbox Generation 3 features will be interesting. So the improvements that we baked into this third generation design came from, of course, our own experience with the second generation Crowbox, building those and operating them. But a great deal of what we improved this time around was inspired by feedback that we got from users around the world who had built and used second generation Crowboxes, and let us know what kind of problems they had, and also let us know what sort of things we could have done better. So I think we've addressed a lot of that in this new design, and we'll go through those items, and I'll definitely remember, or try to remember rather, to mention when something is very specifically an improvement over the previous generation. Most of the improvements that we're talking about fall into one of three main categories. The first category is durability. There were things that clearly we needed to make stronger, and I think we've done that this time around, and built a machine that's much more durable and reliable. The second category is a big one, and that's our weatherability or weather tightness. And that basically just has to do with keeping rainwater, snow, and wind-driven materials out of the machine. So we have a lot of feedback from our users letting us know that there were various ways that the previous generation machine could get wet inside, and I think we've addressed those pretty well with this new design. And the final category is cleaning and maintenance. One of the main inspirations for doing a better job with building a machine that can easily be cleaned and maintained is a lot of reports that we got from users about strange objects that were stuffed into the machine by crows, things that didn't belong down in the coin chutes and would block them. And that was a difficult part of the machine to get into in the previous generation. So we very specifically designed this third generation machine to break down more completely and provide easier and better access to some of the, I guess you would call them, deeper parts of the machine, where if those problems do crop up, they're pretty easy for the operator to solve in this new design. So we're just going to start at the top and go down inside the machine. So The first thing we'll talk about is the perch, the topmost part. And this was a big weakness in the previous generation for weatherability, because the second generation perch had a big square hole cut in the top that would allow access to the coin magazine where we could load our training coins. The problem was is that was a major place where water could get into the machine, and many of our users struggled with that problem. So we decided in this new generation to have a perch with no holes in it. So we do have some slots cut in the perch so that it can rest on these supports here. But the interesting thing about the supports is that, and you can see if I lift the perch away here, these actually stick out from the machine on little outriggers. So if rainwater were to run off the perch onto these supports for the perch, it'll actually run harmlessly down the outside of the machine, because these are actually set back from the machine wall a little bit, and not toward the center of the machine where the water could get inside. So that's one of our first major changes there. Now I'm going to replace the perch for just a second and talk about something else that we've done, which is place these skirts around the perch on all four sides. So if I take my perch off and flip it over, you can see it actually has walls, short ones. But what that does is it covers another source of rainwater getting into the machine, and that was water that was driven from the side by wind, or snow is a bad one, right? It pretty easily just drifts right under the perch of the previous Crowbox. So this one now has skirts, which make the perch much, much stronger, but mainly they provide a barrier to all of that rain and snow that might get in sideways. Now under the perch, we have and it's pretty hard to see because it's transparent plastic. I think the light might be reflecting off of it right now, but we have this this lid panel here, and that does the job of keeping the rest of the water out of the machine. It has two small slots in it for the perch pivots there, but if the perch itself is doing its job, there shouldn't be enough water under there to get in. Here we have the internal coin magazine, and this is where we store our training coins. I think this can hold 8 US quarters, but having this built on the inside of the machine this time around versus something that is sticking out through the top of the perch was a major win in the new design. So we have a little coin magazine there. Something else that we did for reliability is switch the way that the perch gets triggered to these rocker arms. So now when the bird lands on the perch, they'll press down this rocker arm, it'll raise in the back and connect our circuit that lets us know that a bird has arrived. Another interesting thing about these rocker arms is that you can see here I've got a bunch of washers screwed to it, and those are a counterweight. So instead of using a rubber band on this new Crowbox, we decided to go with a static counterweight for to set our activation force, and that can be modified by just changing the type of item you're using for your weight or how many of them that you use. In this case, I think I have 5 washers on here for 40 grams, which gives me about a 4-ounce activation force at the other end. The rubber bands worked pretty well in the previous generation, but that's one of the things that would get exposed to the elements and begin to degrade, and the operators would have to keep up with making sure the rubber bands were staying fresh and supplying the actual activation force they wanted. And the other thing about the rubber bands was it was a little bit difficult to fine-tune your activation force, and now that can be done just by placing whatever kind of weight you want to use and in the quantity that you want to get what you want out of the activation force. Now I'm going to run my power cable back up inside here so that I can kind of show over here. We have a special home now for the electronics. So this sled actually slots vertically into this spot here, into the back corner, stays out of our way. Now, as we get deeper into the machine, we get to the rail system here. These are the rails. The rails support the rocker arms that we've been talking about. They support the sliding lid, the rotor that controls the sliding lid, and also the servo motor that controls the rotor. A big improvement this time around is that these rails are not designed to be glued into the machine any longer. In fact, they're designed to be removable. So now the entire rail system lifts out, which gives you access to all the components I talked about that live on the rail system, but also gives you very good access to the inside of your machine. And when you're looking to do some serious machine maintenance, you can now pull the entire guts out. So you can get your electronics sled out, your rail system, and just run those out the back if you want. And that lets you fiddle around as much as you like inside. Which brings me to another thing. We can see here there's a couple coins that we've deposited, and those have been caught in our handy dandy new coin tray. So now, rather than having to open a side panel on the machine, which was, I think, a big weakness in the previous Crowbox, was that we had a big door on the side that you actually had to unscrew to open, just for the opportunity to look inside and see if you even had coins. Now we have a little coin drawer, and it lives right under the basket here in the front, and you can go out and pull that out of your machine whenever you like to see if you've got any coins deposited. And so the way that works, if I were to just drop a coin in here and deposit it, you can see they just get derailed off the coin sensor and they pop right down into that coin drawer so that you can retrieve them easily. And so I'm pretty proud of that one. I think that's a big change for quality of life for people who operate Crowboxes. Now, here we have the basket and the rewards which are available, and the coin chutes, you can find them because they have this tiny strip of blue tape on them. But these are the ramps that help the coins that get deposited find their way into the machine, and it makes sure that they're rolling at the correct speed to strike the coin sensor and get recorded. Now, the funnels, as we called them, the coin chutes on the previous Crowbox were made of styrene sheet material, which was a nice, flexible, thin plastic that was very low friction, and our coins would slide across very nicely and get into the machine and hit the coin sensor. The problem with the styrene was something that was brought to our attention by some users after they've had their Crowboxes in the field for a while, and that styrene was found to deteriorate pretty badly, especially in ultraviolet light, in sunlight, and crack, and it was not an easy thing to replace. So now we have a coin funnel which is made entirely of acrylic, just like the rest of the machine. It's transparent, so it's just another opportunity from the side for crows to be able to see the rewards that we're offering in here, versus having that opaque styrene. And also has very high resistance to UV and other elemental things that might cause the styrene to degrade. Also, rather than being glued into place, the outside of the coin funnel is just screwed into place, as you can see here. So you can take off this outside panel now. You can reach your coin baffles and the rest of the chute should it need cleaning, or if you need to replace these strips of tape which function as padding for the deposited coins. Now you can get all the way inside here in order to clean and maintain that part of the Crowbox, which is really cool. And then if we look down here into the coin sensor, which is this bar here, and you can see it's got some shiny foil on it. That is a sensor that we make ourselves with foil tape rather than using a mechanical switch. And the reason for that is that the foil tape is inexpensive. It's pretty easy to work with. It works really well in this application. And it's very, very easy to replace if you needed to. If you needed to peel off that tape and put in new tape to replace a sensor that's gotten worn or dirty, that's a really handy thing. And it's, I think I might have mentioned, I don't know if I did, it's a low-cost way for us to be able to build and maintain our own sensors. And also it does pretty well outside in humid conditions and temperature variations, things like that. Conditions which might cause an off-the-shelf mechanical switch to deteriorate over time and need to be replaced or become unreliable. And also you can see we use screws and ring terminals to do all the wiring. No soldering is required to connect that sensor or any other part of the Crowbox. So that makes not only construction easier, it makes maintaining and replacing sensors if they need it. It makes that easier as well. So that's kind of it for our tour of the machine. The build videos will go into excruciating detail on all of these things, and I think this is a good way to get started before building, just to see what we call everything and how it all kind of fits together and what it does. So as I go to reassemble this, I'm just going to slide the electronic sled into its home there where it belongs. And then my rails, I just put them on the front tabs and drop the rear tabs. Take my lid panel, place that, and then my perch. And with that, I've gone all the way down inside the guts of the machine and come all the way back out in a minute. So I think that anyone who had operated a second generation Crowbox should really appreciate what they just saw, because we saw some nightmare scenarios when it came to getting down into the machine to get to coins that went to a weird place, or water that filled up the inside of the machine, or just a weird, as I said before, weird object that a crow might have stuffed in. And I think we've addressed all those things. I mean, coins aren't loose inside the machine anymore. They're in our little tray. We're keeping water and snow out of the machine, and we can take apart any part of the Crowbox now. There's nothing that's fused forever with cement that is going to make it hard for you to get in where you need to get in to do your job as an operator. So all in all, hopefully a much smoother experience for you. I hope you decide to build one of these. If you do, the Crowbox website has all the information that you need to get started. There are YouTube videos that describe the build process in detail, and we're available in our Google group for any questions you might have. If you just want to talk about the project or have questions about getting started, or some kind of issue that you're having either building or running your Crowbox, we're there to help, and a community of other operators is there to help. So we hope to see you there.